Well, I want to know why is the world on the moment so harsh?
Yeah, perfect.
So harsh.
Yes.
You see, there is nothing that one group, one community, or one person experiences that the other has never experienced or is not experiencing even to the slightest degree. Fundamentally, we are all one. As human beings, we all perceive the world through our senses. We all operate through language. We all think. And our basic tendencies are all the same. The same urge to have security, the same urge to find love, the same repulsion from a feeling of termination, of disappearance, the same attachments, the same kinds of identifications. We are all very much one, and the oneness becomes more and more apparent as we go deeper into our psyche, the mind. As we go deeper into the mind, the similarities become very apparent. You see, you take one mother here in Netherlands, and you take another mother somewhere in Africa. If you just superficially look at them, you will only see differences. You will see differences in name, you will see differences in physique, you will see differences in diet, you will see a lot of differences. Then you look at their relationship with their kids. Again, superficially you will only see differences. The rituals will be different. The way they bring up their kids might appear initially different. But the deeper you probe into the relationship, you will find that more and more similarities are emerging. If it's the mother and the kid, then the mother wishes the kid well. The mother has a certain attachment for the kid. The mother also feels insecure about the kid. And the more you keep the names and the forms behind, you will come to feel as if these two mothers are just the same. Same for the kids as well, ditto. So when we say why is the world harsh or violent, or why is the world in conflict, we are essentially talking of ourselves. Because the world means an aggregation of people and their relationships, a totality of people and the way the people relate to each other. If we can understand why one man or one woman is in conflict, we will be able to understand why the entire world is in conflict. Do we get this? One person is a microcosm. One person is a miniature representation of the entire world. Are you getting this? In different ways, obviously. I do not represent the world in the same way as he does or as she does. There are differences. But the basic tendencies, the point that we are trying to make is, are same within everyone. Right? So why is one person in conflict? Why is one man divided? Why are we not at peace with ourselves? And if we can understand why we are not at peace with ourselves, we'll also be able to understand why we are not at peace with our neighbor, and then with the neighboring state, and then with the neighboring country, and then with the entire universe. Why we are not at peace with anything? Why are we not at peace with ourselves firstly? why are we not happy with ourselves? Why are we not settled within ourselves? Why are we not just contented? I repeat, if we can know why one man is not at home with himself, why he's not at peace with himself, we'll also know why nations fight. We'll also know why religions fight. We have to start at the unit level, at the individual level. Why is one man not able to be comfortable with himself? Why is he cursing himself or backing himself or expecting things from himself or asking questions to himself? Why do we all have issues with ourselves? Why does no one like himself perfectly?
Ego.
Well, back I always thought that was the testosterone in the man for mostly, creating the problems in the world.
So women have no problems.
Oh yes, but the aggression part, the war part. So you have your own issues.
Yes. It's only the ego. Only the ego.
Yeah, I think so.
Your upbringing,
Or
or your parents, family, street, and city. It's always. When my father said, "I see you are thinking," clutch.
Yes.
yeah, but it's the definition maybe for ego, of ego. The definition itself is maybe a problem. So every attachment, that's ego, I think, from my definition.
Or that you're blind for the beauty of the world. And when you are open to the beauty of the world and thankful, I think then it's a start.
We are starting off by asking that before I can see the beauty out there, why am I unable to see the beauty in here? So that's the first question I think we must tackle. Why is the beauty within not so apparent? And we have obtained a valuable lead. You talked of the ego, you talked of upbringing, you talked of attachments. Are they not all one whole? Are we not referring to the same thing, the same creature? Whether we say upbringing, what is the ego?
Sum total of that all.
Sum total of it all, yeah, yes. The sense of self, the sense of who I am.
No, the construction.
The construction, yeah, a constructed self of who I am. Ego means I, who I am, right? Who I am.
Yeah.
Okay. But given the way human beings are, we would always be raised somewhere. Given the way the mind of a child is, he would be absorbing stuff, what he or she sees around, the television, the movies, the family, the school, the streets, the marketplace. The child would be absorbing influences. And the mind of the child, rather the brain itself, the physical thing itself, is not yet in a position to exercise discretion. The child sees and the child imitates, not learns, just imitates, copies, absorbs. So upbringing as a fact would remain. And that would mean that any child, any human being would always have a past behind her. A past in which he or she has been brought up and thereby conditioned, thereby influenced. So the person has been given a religion, the person has been given a feeling about nationality, the person has been made to think that this is the community he or she belongs to. You see this? The person has been made to take pride in the glory of his ancestors. And the person has been cultivated with ideas about what future must look like. Do you see all this? So it will necessarily be there. It's there for all of us. Every single individual has been through it. Now what to do? Does that mean that conflict is inevitable? That conflict is something that we cannot avoid? We have to live with it? Or what are we saying then?
Well, I'm sure we could avoid the conflict. Well, I'm not in it, of course, so it's easier to speak, probably. But I'm convinced we could avoid it. When people start realizing what they're doing, and that there's another choice.
I know for sure as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's in everyone.
When we were born in Syria, it's difficult. They have a long way to go. Yeah. That's so sad because you would like to help, but you can't do it alone. Oh, yeah.
So the individual, the one person, is being acted upon by different forces. Parts of the mind are being dominated by different influences. There is the influence of the church, there is the influence of the temple, there is the influence of the media, then there are political leaders, then there are, small things like friends in school, and the comic strips, right? I mean, very little things, but all of them go towards filling the consciousness, don't they? Now, none of these influences is total. None of them has any wholeness about them. All of them are limited. All of them are partisan. Do you see this? All of them are very
Tiny little
parochial,
fragments.
tiny little fragments. Right? So they occupy only one portion of the mind. They sit upon one portion of the mind, and the other fragment sits upon another portion, another portion, another portion, and none of them has any wholeness. Right? What will happen to the mind, the different parts of which have been occupied by, dominated by different influences? What's going to happen to such a mind?
The mind is confused.
The mind is confused. And what is this confusion going to result in? And what is this confusion rather all about?
Well,
You see, for example, let me represent it through a more concrete example. There are several influences on the mind that teach us self-interest, right? Self-preservation.
yes.
And then there is the morality that is taught in school and sometimes in the church that tells us that one has to be good and fair and magnanimous towards the neighbors. Now, are these two the same thing? Preserving your own self and being good to the neighbor as well?
Not always.
Not always. They'll very often be in conflict with each other. Conflict with each other. So the mind is torn. The mind is torn. Whatever will come from outside will never have a totality about it, for the simple reason that it is coming from outside. It is not you. It can appeal to one part of you, but it can never be you in totality. So the human being is now divided, right? There is confusion, there is inner strife. One does not know which way to go. One decides to go this way, another influence comes, shows up, and then one is led that way. At one point in time, this appears important, at other point in time, that appears important. And even if one is able to prioritize, in the prioritization there is a trade-off. We say, take this, leave this, you gain so much, and at the same time, you lose so much. It's just that you appear to be gaining more than you are losing, so go ahead with this decision. Do you see this? So you go ahead with the decision because overall you seem to be gaining, but you can't get rid of the pain that you have also gained.
Pain you've also
Lost something.
yeah.
Maybe you have gained 500 units. But you can't forget that to gain these 500 units, you had to forego 200 units of something else. There was a compromise involved. So even as you feel happy about what you have obtained, some part of you keeps weeping about what you have lost. Right? In fact, you have adages like no pain, no gain. Or that, to nothing, there are no free lunches. Right? That to gain something, you have to also give up something. Things like these.
Famous,
No free lunch.
and then you don't get privacy,
Privacy, right?
and then you lose your
Yes.
peace of mind.
You lose peace of mind. So you can never really rejoice in totality. You can never really say that both your hands are full. It's always one hand that is receiving and the other hand from which something is being snatched away. Right? So now man is divided. Now man is internally divided. Man does not know what to do. Do you see this? Is it not so that this same division expresses itself on the outside also? Is it not so that when there is strife inside, in a mental way, that same,
Means
let's just call it a war.
Streven, okay.
Hmm?
Yeah.
Let's just call it a conflict, a war, a conflict. So when there is a war inside, in a mental way, in an abstract way, that same war then appears outside in a physical way. Getting this? You see, you look at any war that is fought. Both the parties say that ultimately they want to gain something. And in order to gain what they aim to gain, they are saying we are prepared to compromise a few soldiers. Alright, we will lose 10,000 men, but having lost 10,000 men, we will gain something which is bigger than the cost of 10,000 men. So is the same trade-off thing not happening on the outside also?
Yes.
Yes? I'll gain a university degree, and in the process of gaining the university degree, I might have compromised on something that my heart is really into. But now at least I have a degree and I value the degree higher than the other thing. So I would say on the net, the trade-off is positive. That's how it's happening. I want progress. And in the attempt to have progress, if I damage the environment a little, it's acceptable because I can quantify, monetize both the things and see that what I have gained by having more electricity, more convenience, more luxury, better roads, better vehicles, better spaceships, is of a higher value than just the 200 species of birds that we have lost. Yeah? Yes, yes. Hmm? Whenever the mind would act as per influences, there would be inner conflict. And that inner conflict would become the conflict of the world also. What's obviously then the way to not fight internally and hence also not fight externally?
That's the way.
What's the way?
But I always fight in myself. Can't escape it.
Is
Not
it
yet.
you that who fights within yourself, or is it one influence that fights with another influence?
Yes, that's the case.
And you are the battleground.
Yes.
Upon you the fight is taking place. Okay. Why must we become a participant in that fight?
Because we believe in it.
Because we identify with one player, the other player, and sometimes both the players.
Yeah.
We fight from both the sides often. I ask you a very basic example. We went to the beach, we were returning from there. So we watch a billboard and an advertisement displaying one particular mobile phone. Then we move some distance and we come across a shop that is advertising another mobile phone. Two of different makes coming from different companies, different models. These two companies are competitors. Please see this. These two handsets are competing amongst themselves. They are competing amongst themselves. You don't have anything to do with that. But if you are influenced by the first one, and then you are also influenced by the second one, then the fight takes place inside you, then you are torn. Then you are torn. Then you are thinking, should I buy this? Should I buy this? Should I buy both? Or should I buy
Nothing.
neither of them? Now all four options are available and you don't know what to do.
Undecisiveness comes in.
Yes. So something that had to be really outside of you, something that you principally had nothing to do with, has now become your personal matter.
Yeah.
Do you see this?
Yes, you let it.
Do you see this? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes. And all this happens like this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even more subtly than this. You don't even realize, the eyes look at it, the mind reads it, then eyes look at that, the mind reads that, and it has happened. And you are thinking that you are internally debating on something that is immensely important to you. You feel as if it is you who must decide. You feel as if it is your individual interest that is at stake. You don't even realize that you have been made a victim of propaganda. That it is somebody else's battle that you are fighting.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yeah. Rara or bullshit. Yeah.
So does that suggest a way to have freedom from this inner conflict?
Not
Stop buying stuff. Stop buying stuff.
Seeing it for what it is.
Yeah.
or saying it's not my karma.
Live in the countryside.
Well, whatever I do, it's which one I choose. It's their karma. It's not mine.
Even before that, had I not been told to choose, was there a need to choose at all? Had I not been compelled to think about the mobile phone, would I have thought about it at all?
No.
Is the thought itself not an external implant? Like, you know?
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah. Comparison.
Like somebody sneaking in foreign stuff into my home?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff stinks? And my whole house now stinks along with the stuff? Hmm? Do we see this?
Yeah.
What then is the way to freedom from this conflict?
Now realizing what you really need, actually need, inside you, feeling inside. What do I really need? And what do I
Now-
make myself?
Now, who are we? We
Yeah.
had started off by saying that you said that the child is conditioned. You talked of ego. We talked of attachments. Who are we then? Who is the one who gets influenced by advertisements? Who is the one who is a product of his upbringing? Who is this one that we are referring to? Is that not who we are? If that's not what we are, then who else is the target, the aim of all those advertisements? For sure, a lot of propaganda is taking place. For sure, forces that influence us are very much active. Correct? They are there all around us. Right? And if not we, then who else is the target of those forces? It's we, right? Which means that it's we who are a product of that conditioning. Which means that whatever I have been is just external, and whatever is external just causes division. Hence, the only way to really connect is to not be what we have been trained to be, what we believe ourselves to be. The more that is put aside, the more it is possible to connect with the other. The more blank one is, the more one has something in common with the other.
Leaving all the filters.
Yes, yes.
Towards another.
Yes.
The spectacles we're using to see the world.
Yes. And the more your sheets are full, let's take an opposite example, in the opposite direction. You write down what I have read, what I have said over the last 45 minutes. And then I say, kindly elaborate on it. I say, kindly fill 4 A4 sheets. You know an A4 sheet, right? I say, now fill A4 sheets elaborating what I have said. Now, would you find more division or less division? Okay, a simple example.
We haven't gotten us enlightened yet, so
Think
I
of
think
this.
there's
Let's say all of you write down that I have been talking of awareness. So all of you write down a simple word, awareness. Then I say, now explain in 2 pages what I have been saying. Awareness. As far as the single word was concerned, there appeared a certain commonality. Everybody is saying awareness.
Yeah.
Now you elaborate on that. Now will you find more division or less division?
More.
Which means that the more you have mental activity, the more you have of yourself, the more you are cut off from your neighbor. Because you know what would happen? The more you write about awareness, the more you will write from your own personal point of view.
Yes.
Are you getting this? Do you see this? Which means the more you expand, the more you find yourself in isolation. The more you expand, the more you absorb, the more you are in isolation. The only way to be one with someone is to be nobody. The more you are grounded in your nationality, the more you believe in your religion, the more you believe in your ethnicity, the more you believe in your economic class, the more you believe in your ideals, your thoughts, your philosophies, your assumptions, the more you will be divided. The only way then to connect is to be blank. Now, we see what is it that connects all of us. It's a certain emptiness, a certain blankness. That's the only thing that we share with each other. And it's not the blankness or emptiness of loneliness. It's an emptiness that sings. It's a very expressive emptiness. And it's called emptiness only because it is free and clear of all kinds of impurities. So it is empty of rubbish. That's what the word emptiness means. That's the only thing that connects all of us. Which means that as I'm speaking, all of us can be in perfect agreement only if we are nothing, thinking nothing, analyzing nothing, concluding nothing. You know that's that state of meditativeness when we are so deeply connected that no one here is anyone. You have forgotten who you are. You are listening so intently that you have totally forgotten who you are. You are so immersed in listening that you too have forgotten who you are. Now the two of you are one, and the two of you are one with me as well. Do you see this? This is the only thing that can connect humanity. Otherwise, whatever the eyes perceive, whatever the mind thinks of, whatever the society gives, is only going to be a cause of division and conflict. Only an absence of all of that. And by the way, the heart that you talked of, this emptiness is that heart itself. The more you are identified with whatever is there in the mind, irrespective of what it is, the more you will be violent, parochial, divided, identified, partisan. It doesn't matter what you are thinking. You might be thinking the kindest words. You might be upholding the most benign and most charitable philosophy. Yet you would be internally very, very violent if it is a philosophy. You might be swearing allegiance to the most kind and accommodative thoughts that religion can give you. And yet you will find that these very thoughts are causing you to distrust your neighbor. As long as you are something and it doesn't matter what that thing is. As long as you are somebody and it doesn't matter who that somebody is. You are in for conflict. There is no way I can relate to her as an Indian. There is no way she can relate to me as somebody who spent time in the service industry. We relate only when we forget who we are. Do you get this? We relate only when we forget who we are.
Sorry, I said, well, that's not kind saying that towards you. Doesn't matter who you are, we don't relate on that. Just forget about yourself.
Yes, of course. And don't you know that in your own experience, when you are really, really in love, do you consider the various social parameters? Do you consider your
Like-
thoughts, your philosophies and such things?
No.
When you're really absorbed in music, do miscellaneous thoughts come to you? Do they? Yes? That's the only way one can connect and relate, by not being the one has always been. The mistake that man makes is he finds that what he is prone to conflict. So he tries to become somebody else. He says this that I am caused problems, caused pain, suffering, violence, wars. So let me just become somebody else. Maybe the opposite of what I have been previously.
It's the same.
And it doesn't help because you still are somebody.
Yes.
You will be disappointed again. You will find yourself in conflict again. The only way is to give up this absurd belief in being anything. Of course, in day-to-day living, practically, you have to be somebody. You carry a passport, you carry a name, you carry a bank account, you have a house, you have a car. So, in that sense, you are somebody. But deep within, the identities should not percolate. Deep within, you should remain untouched by whatever you are. Young, old, man, woman, African, Asian, Martian.
Yeah.
Deep within you are
Yeah.
not an identity.
Yes.
Deep within you are not an
Deep
identity.
within, yes, of course. And the more you connect to the other through identities, the more superficial your relationship would be, because as Raka said, deep within there are no identities. Which means if identities are connecting, the relationship is only superficial, not deep.
Yes.
Yeah? If a man connects to a woman, the relationship can go deep only to a certain extent. If there has to be a real relationship, then the man will have to forget that he is a man and the woman will have to forget her own gender. Otherwise, the relationship would be only skin deep.
That's why we're with too many people. For example.
Yeah.
I find it so interesting that what you said about when you are all listening to me, then you are one.
Yes. But one not in the sense of following a certain ideology that I might be suggesting.
No.
That would be very misleading.
Just listening.
Just listening.
Only being aware.
Only being aware. And that awareness has no content.
No.
If somebody asks you, what are you aware of? You return blank sheets.
Yeah.
And if you write something, then you're not aware.
Mhm.
Please.
And that feeling what you have with great speakers like Gandhi or any person, any great person, everyone who listens feels connected.
I would like to say something. It's not even a feeling of being connected. Because if you are connected, then you are a divided entity. If you are whole, then how can you be connected?
When you're feeling.
When you are feeling, there is somebody who is feeling, and that itself is division.
Great, yeah.
My experience is also, sometimes I do with him and with us a group meditation. And then it's also, it feels so good when you are together, but you try not to think only slightly.
Yes, but in the depths of meditation, do you even remember that there is somebody in front of you and somebody on this side? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Really? And if you do, then are you meditating? Then you are just socializing. Are you not?
Yes.
Because if you do remember that there is somebody in front of you, then you would also be conscious of the fact that he or she is not performing the right steps.
Yes.
And the fellow on this side is so fit, his leg goes up 4 inches higher than yours. And still keeps the ankle straight 90 degrees. Wonderful. In real meditation, you have to be alone. right? Aloneness is what you discover. Now there is nobody else. Even if there are, yet there are nobody.
Yeah. But I feel when I'm with a group, it goes better than when I'm alone. Then I go deeper and then I forget them.
That can be an initiator. That can be a catalyst. The presence of somebody else. Like the presence of a teacher, like the presence of a friend or a lover. That can initiate you. But that cannot last right till the end. In the end, you have to become one with the teacher or the lover or the friend, or in the sense that that separation has to go away. In the sense that when you are gone, how can the other remain? Do you see this?
Yeah.
Meditation means I am no more there. If you are no more there, how can the fellow in front be still there?
Yeah.
Yes, yes. That's a very long answer to a very simple question. Okay. You see,
It's quite clear now.
Yes, it's far better to go into the depths of this than to try superficial methods. Man has always been fascinated by war, and in equal measure he has loathed war. You know, man's liking for war is matched only by his repugnance for war, towards war. He dislikes war. On one hand, man finds war heroic. Man worships the generals who have fought in war, and man names streets after them. Don't we do that?
Yeah,
Yeah?
the heroes.
They are heroes. Countries worship them. Our war hero, our this thing. On the other hand, we always talk of war as a disease. If war is a disease, then why are you worshipping the soldiers? So it's very important to not to try half measures. Otherwise, in spite of the dislike that you have for war, war will continue. And I'm not talking only about physical war. Given the kind of accumulation we have of nuclear weapons, a physical war may not materialize just because, it deters one person from using it and in equal amount the other person from using it. But then there is psychological warfare. The minds are divided. And man lives here. So if minds are divided, that is no better than suffering a wound on the hand. Maybe worse. Maybe worse. With a wound on the hand, you can still be peaceful. But with a wound in the psyche, you can never be peaceful. So, this thing about trying this and trying that.
I'm just thinking the whole psyche is one wound.
The whole psyche is one large wound. Yeah, of course. Yes. Wonderful. Very beautifully said. So, all the methods that then we try to prevent conflict, be it the conflict between husband and wife, yes, between father and son, or between two large countries, all the methods that we try are all thought-based methods, are all identity-based methods. We try those methods remaining somebody. Do you see this? Remaining somebody, we try those methods. Those methods are always going to fail. Some may fail immediately, some may take time to declare that they have failed. The only method that will never fail is that you do not remain who you are. Yes, stay empty. Do not forget that
You are not that.
you are not that. Let the two mobile phone companies compete with each other. Let the competition not begin in your own mind. Let it not begin here. As long as you have not become that, war will not start. You remain free of influences and wars will not start. Emptiness does not fight emptiness. Something fights something else. Somebody fights somebody else. And as long as you are somebody, the other one will be somebody else. And there would be war. There would be war. And let's also again not take this as a matter very removed from our daily lives. Let's not say that what do I have to do with war? I have a peaceful house somewhere in a peaceful village and war is none of my concerns. We are not only talking of armies fighting each other. I repeat, we are also talking of the brother and sister not being at peace with each other. Yes, of man and daughter not being at peace with each other. And fundamentally of man not being at peace with himself. So this is something of immediate and direct concern to each one of us.
That's why they say in Holland, better the world start with yourself.
Yeah. And mind your own business.
Mind
Mind your own emptiness. And that's it.
I would like to say something a little different from this. That which we are is a perpetual starter. It keeps on starting. One need not start with himself. One needs to stop himself first. That's what we need, to stop. No more starts are needed. Fits and starts, we have had just too many. We better stop. So better stop yourself. Yes.
And another thing is, betterment is not necessary.
Betterment is not necessary because all betterment means
Beter worden, self-improvement.
It's not necessary.
No, not necessary. Well, let him.
yes, obviously, because in self-improvement you retain the core of what you are and then you want to decorate yourself around it. In self-improvement you say fundamentally I'll remain what I am, which is my ego-centered identity, but I will, pep it up a little, make it a little more acceptable, maybe a little more presentable, but I will not change or let change my fundamental tendencies. If I am possessive, I will remain the possessive one. It's just that now I will show that I am not possessive. So that is self-improvement. Improvement, remember, is always gradual, incremental. It's always on the same base. Right? When we say, let's improve this wall, that does not mean that we'll bring down this wall. Improving this wall would mean that it gets a fresh coat of paint, it gets a new painting here. What else can be done to improve this wall?
We can put it soundproof.
Soundproof. You can have a TV that hangs down here, or you can have two models standing by this wall.
Oh yes, dat was bij de auto's die oude.
But you will never bring down this wall. So improvement never gets rid of the fundamental problem.